Hey folks, Vince the Evil DM, another episode of Railguns and Dragons. We're going to be continuing along with the Fantasy 1E book. Moving over now to Men of Magic. We're going to be doing the Wizard class today to start things off. Just want to say thank you for all the good feedback as usual, all the likes. Don't forget to share the videos. If you'd like to support me, go to theevildm.com/support. You can see various ways. I appreciate those that have supported me as well. If you want to send it in the email, askthedm at theevildm.com is my contact information. You can find me on Twitter at theevildm, Facebook /theevildungeonmaster. All right, let's get into the swing of things here. Turning to page, let's see here, 51 in the Player's Fantasy book, or the fantasy book, I should say. We get Men of Magic, Wizards, our favorite class. It's one of the most difficult classes to play. Like I said, it's one of the most difficult classes to play, and there are 7 magical classes that we're going to go over, which being the Wizard, the Warlock, the Witch, the Diabolist, the Summoner, and the Mind Mage. Mind Mage being more of a Psionicist. And Warlock is not what it seems. Warlock is more like an Elementalist, even though it has the Warlock name. Well, let's go over this, and I want you to make your own decision if this is a complex to play or hard to play class. It really doesn't seem that way. It's just a little bit more difficult to obtain what you need when you're going up in levels. So a wizard, unlike other role-playing games, does not need to memorize spells at all daily. They just cast them, and they can do it all over again. They only have a limited number of spells per day that they can cast. So if you happen to know first level, second level, third level, fourth level, fifth level, sixth level, whatever, up to 11th level, you can cast them no matter what level you are. They can be cast with a mere whisper under his breath. Smallest little note can be cast, and that's how a spell does. So if you know the spell, like I said, you can cast it. Even if a low-level wizard at level 1 finds a 6th level spell, he can cast that spell, but it just won't be at 6th level strength. It'll be at a 1st level strength. You'll know this, and the way their spells are written, and you could see this later on, that spells are written as per melees of the level of caster. So, for example, a 6th level spell will be 6 melees per level of caster. Melees equaling rounds in this game. So 6 rounds per level of the caster. So it would only be 6 rounds in this case of a 1st level character. So that's how they get away with allowing wizards to cast spells beyond their level. It just halves or cuts things down so that you can cast any of the spells. So as long as you find the spell and you memorize it, you can cast it. Now, again, you are limited by the number of spells per day. And if you look on page 58, where a lot of the stuff is going to be, under Magical Combat, right below it, it says Spellcasting 2. They only allow 2 spells per day. Your body just can't handle any more magic to throw out there per day. It does say that you can, even if you know a certain amount of spells per day, you can only cast 2 regardless. Starting spells, it doesn't really... Well, okay, let me rephrase that. Starting spells, you only get 6. And the 6 spells that you get are these common spells right here. Decipher Magic, Sense Magic, Cloud of Slumber, you can guess what that is, Globe of Daylight, Tongues, and the Enchanted Cauldron. Those are the 6 spells that you start out with when you first start the game. Nothing else. Unless you have a nice GM and he wants to give you more. But that's what you start out. To get more spells, there is various ways. One of the most interesting ways that this book has is the Enchanted Cauldron. The last one you have, which is a 6th level spell. I find this really interesting, this spell, because it's something... The way it is written, it reminds me of seeing something in like an 80s movie where teenagers find and stumble across a book and they have to do all these little weird things to get the magical powers and see into the future. Well, this Enchanted Cauldron, basically you need 1 small iron cauldron, 6 pints of human blood fresh, 1 dead butterfly, symbol or the spirit or the soul, an owl's feather, stirred in with iron or steel sword approximately 2 hours before the moon's zenith. There's only a 12% chance that this will succeed per level. So first level, you're probably not going to have a good chance of doing this. Now, why would you do this process? Well, you want more spells, and you want them now. It's your money, and you want it now, right? So you're going to contact J.G. Wentworth and get your spells. This whole process is basically going to put you in a coma trance, and the spirits of the world will randomly swap memories with you and share new spells. If you fail, it's nothing more than you just wasted your time in a bunch of elements and you pour it out. You just have to wait another night to do it again. If you pass now, well, there's some good and there's some bad, even if you do pass. So what happens if you do that? Success will bring you some new spells from 3 to 7, varying here on the other side of the page. You get to roll percentile and you see how many spells you can obtain from this process. After you determine your number of spells, you have to roll a 6-sided die for each one of them. So say you get 4, you roll it 4 times, and you see what level spell you get. You only get 1 through 6 this way. So you roll, you get your spells out, and after that, you roll 3d6 on the level. So basically you flip to the spells. Say you got a bunch of level 2 spells and a level 3 spells. You flip to level 2, and you roll 3d6. And that's how you determine what spell you've obtained. Now, if you roll a spell that you already know, the book specifies you do not get to reroll. Pretty much too bad. This is a random procedure. This is how it's done. You were shared, shared a spell that just doesn't, you already had it. Now, of course, with this whole process, you can become insane. You might get an affective disorder, a phobia, maybe 2 phobias, a neurosis, and a psychosis. That's if you pass, obviously. If you fail, you just go, meh, and you try again later on. But you pass, you get a bunch of spells, and you also get one of these various insanities or psychosis listed on here. Then you go to the chart, and the GM gets to have fun rolling on those charts. It doesn't really always use all the time. Why would you do this? Again, you want spells and you don't feel like waiting and you don't feel like going through the other methods. Well, I mean, it could be a fun thing to do, maybe at higher levels, because you just want some more spells. It's just, I really wouldn't do it because I wouldn't want to get the chance. There's only a 13% chance out of 100 that you won't get an insanity or disorder or phobia. It could be good for role-playing. You never know. So you can purchase magic as well. The clergy, which is made me laugh the way this is written the first time when I was a kid and read this, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, what a racket they got going here. Because when you first talk to the clergy, you have to donate a gratuitous amount of money, 500 gold, just to get their attention. After that, you have to, if someone's available to speak with you after your donation, you have to sit down with them for 500 more gold and determine if they can help you. Should they know the spell? Could they get the spell? Do you think you deserve the spell? Another 500 gold for that, which which is non-refundable. So if they decide we're not a good fit or they don't like you for some weird reason, you just lost 1,000 gold right there just for petitioning and for a consultation. Now, if they determine that they can help you and they will help you, they will charge you 1,500 gold per level of the spell. And it takes about a week to 10 days, and most will provide spells from about 1 to 4. And if they go over level 4 towards level 6, they'll charge a little bit more per level of the spell, about double the fee. You must pay that fee in advance, and the priest will try at least upwards of twice. If he fails on the second time, he'll basically say, oh, well, you don't deserve the spell. The priest now must go into an intervention with the gods or the deities and ask them to grant them the power of these spells so that the clergy can take you and whisper into your ear in a private area how this spell works, and that's how you obtain the knowledge of this new spell. There are no refunds whatsoever at any stage during this. There's also a chance that you could piss them off during that 1 to 10 days and they could say, peace. Fees will vary from organization to organization depending on the deities and the sect of the church or the cult or whatever you're going to for this type of information. The next method would be an alchemist. So think of an alchemist as you're going to a store. He's your specialist in the field. He's going to go out there and find it. He's your, like rental sales agent person. You want this, they're going to go out and find it for you. They normally don't have too many spells on them, but they know where to get them. And they rarely will have spells above level 5, and they never really go as far as 7, but they may have some in that area. It really depends how the GM wants to handle that. You will pay a fee, again, of 3,000 gold per level of the spell. It makes some time to get it, of course, and you have to pay up front. It may take a little time. Obviously, you can do a rush job, pay him 15% extra on top of things, and he could probably get it to you within under 24 hours, 16-hour period probably. Yeah. So there are no refunds, again, unless the spell he gets to you cannot be taught, or maybe it's a false spell or something like that. Some weird circumstance, the only time. Now, the other ways of getting spells in this is trade. Occasionally, a wizard will trade with another wizard if they really want something. Knowledge for a wizard is what is their power. So, again, knowledge is power, so the more knowledge they have, the more they can hold over someone, the more powerful, yeah, so to speak, they are. So wizards rarely will exchange spells over 4th level, but in some instances they will, just to obtain what they really want. So if a wizard is trading a high-level spell to you for something, be wary, they want something else, just not another spell from you. Now you could go, other methods would be trading for it. Again, I said boons and grants, which involves a service to something of great power or something. Like maybe you have found a dragon and you befriended a dragon and you want to spell the dragon, may have some low-level spells for you and may say, you know what, do this thing for me and I'll give this spell to you. Maybe a king or a monarch of some sort has spells in his vault and he has no idea what to do with them, so he can use them for quest purposes. Find me this magical sword and I will give you this scroll. Speaking of scrolls, that's another way to obtain magic. And there's a whole method on here of scrolls and how scrolls work and how they are unstable, and reading the scroll can cast the spell and erase it immediately. But I want to actually spend a video on scroll magic because it's a whole thing in itself and it's kind of neat. I don't want to bloat through it on this just video going through the class. So you're going to have to wait on that. I apologize. So wrapping up a little bit more of the class itself again, you do get access to circle magic, much like a summoner, but you're only limited to little basic circles and protection circles. You can't get as high and as invested into it as like a summoner would get into it. You do have the ability to cast... you do have the ability to study symbols. You're limited to 12 basic symbols, 4 elemental symbols, and colors. Wizards can, for a fee, join a magic guild, which can open up a whole bunch of possibilities in role-playing and information gathering for your game. They're allowed to, if you just look at here, I'll flip to the page for your magic guilds. So what you can get is you have a meeting place, you have a headquarters, some place to go to have an inexpensive board and room for the night. Most major cities will have a guild or little chapters of a guild. So it could be a whole thing like, D&D had the Harpers and things like that. It could be something of that caliber. You also have access to a guild library, but it's not what you think. There's no magical spells or anything in there. It's mostly information about other organizations, the guild itself, races, regional lands, plants, herbs, animals, individual histories, maybe some maps of the area, trade routes, mostly reference books, privately held books that are not open to the public. There is also a Vault of Scrolls. Yes. Lower level scrolls can be obtained through the Vault of Scrolls. So here's another way to buy it. The Vault of Scrolls, if you're part of a guild. You can have meetings with other higher-ups to help you with information. You can sell information there, obtain information about certain things. Consultations and advice are 50 gold. The fee is a yearly membership fee of 200 gold per level of the class. So every level, you're going to pay 200 gold per year. Continuing along, they also do not have any hand-to-hand combat by default. They only have one attack per melee regardless of the level, and should they want more attacks and the ability to fight, they should probably select non-Men of Arms OCC when selecting their electives. Wizards, unlike any other game, can also wear any armor. Well, stepping back a moment, the reason why I mentioned hand-to-hand combat is because you can cast only a certain number of spells, and I'll get in that in magical combat, per melee round. So, if you only have one attack, you're going to be hindered by the ability to only cast a certain number per round, and only able to do a certain number of things per round. Now, if you have hand-to-hand combat, that does up, eventually, your number of attacks and the number of things you can do, and your bonuses to strike, parry, and dodge. Without the hand-to-hand combat, kind of limited in what you can do. Now, by all means, you don't have to pick it, but if you want that advantage as a wizard, you can most certainly pick that. Now, most like I said, like on most like on other games, wow, mostly unlike other games, you could wear any armor you want. Though a wizard does feel a heavier or medium armor is very bulky and hamper movement. Thus, if you wear any medium or heavy armor, they will cause some strike, dodge, and parry negatives. You get -2 to those things. Also, your speed is halved, and your prowl is 3/4. So they recommend that you wear cloth, quilt, or leathers. You have zero issues with those things, and they do provide some minimal support, and they are not bad. Chainmail is also acceptable, but your speed is reduced by a half, and your prowl by a quarter. So your choice as the wizard, what you exactly want to do. You're not hindered in any armor you wear, just be on the note that you're going to be suffering some penalties. For magical combat, wizards can cast one spell per melee round, bumping it up to 2 melee rounds at level 4 is shown under page 58, magical combat, right here, as we can see. But you never get any more spell attacks per melee according to the core rule book. And this is the latest edition printing that they had on DriveThruRPG, the 12th printing or 13th printing, I forget. So this book has not been updated to further along attacks or anything like that. Second edition is different, but we're not playing second edition here. We're playing first. Spell strength does improve as the wizard grows in power and is indicated on page 58 again. As you can see right here on level 5, your spell strength will be bonus +2 when you go up there. Again, it'll go to +3 at level 9, and then +4 at level 14. Now, what this means is there's a standard saving throw for magical attacks that someone has to save against. Again, saving throws, which is the standard, here's your number, roll over it, otherwise you fail. So the wizard gets a spell strength of +2 at level 5, which would make it a 14 instead of a 12. So the person will now have to roll over a 14 for your wizard when he's casting a spell, as opposed to a standard 12. Again, saving throws, as I said, are a d20 plus any bonuses that you have trying to beat the number 12 or the modified number. You only get one saving throw against the spell, and if you pass, you pass. If you fail, you fail. There is no per round saving throw saves in this game. So it's a pass or fail, done, or continues. Again, so if your spell is going into rounds and you failed that first roll, you're going to be consequently hit every other round regardless. Finally, you get some certain abilities like Recognize Enchantment, Recognize Magical Item, and Sense Evil. Some things that you would see in other editions that are spell-based, you get them as an ability. But At lower levels, as you can see on page 58 here, recognize magic items is only 20%. So recognizing magical item is similar to the principle to recognizing enchantment. The wizard has a certain percentage to recognize a magical item by shape, inscription, symbol, or just simple gut feeling. And there's a certain percentages as you go up in level, as we discussed before. Recognizing enchantment is the percentage chance of the wizard recognizing the use and effects of magic. Just as a doctor can recognize the flu symptoms or nervous disorders, so can a wizard recognize the use of magic, particularly charm and manipulative type magic. Illusions do not count as enchantment. See evil, because wizards are exposed to magical energies and sensations, they develop a certain sensitivity to other energies and auras. Not that they could see them, but rather an impression or feeling. Good and evil often play major roles in magic, thus a wizard develops a sense to evil emanations. They do get the ability to read and write in your native language. They are extremely literate, and they also have some other bonuses here. You get to know a certain amount of languages when you start. You do know some power words from the Diablos class, and you get a bunch of OCC skills: spellcasting, magical combat, scroll conversion, power words, common knowledge spells. Speaks 2 languages at 40+%. That's additional languages. And read and write at 70% plus. So whatever the bonus is, you're pretty much going to be 100%, almost 100% proficient in reading and writing. Other than that, you get 6 elective skills at level 1, 8 secondary skills, and you only need an IQ of 10 to qualify for this class. So I ask you now, after hearing about all this class and reading it along with me, and the abilities they have, is this a difficult class to play? I don't think so. It said it's difficult. I think it's difficult because of the way that they get their spells. That might be a little bit hindrance on the player, because not only do they not have access to any more spells, they have to use the cauldron, join a magical guild, possibly, go to clergy and beg for spells and pay a lot of money, find an alchemist, trade for it, or just find it during adventures. Maybe even steal it from a dragon's horde. Who knows? There's a lot of possibilities with this class, and I think it's a fun class to play for somebody that needs something different. Most of the classes have a clear-cut way they advance in levels. This one is a little bit different. Tell me what you think. Don't forget to comment below, like the video, subscribe if it's your first time here, and I will see you in the next video. So keep it original, keep it old school. Good night, everybody.